My name is Rachel Torres. I'm 26 years old. And 3 months ago, my fiance sat me down in our apartment and told me his mother needed emergency surgery. And if I really loved him, I'd empty my savings account to help pay for it. I'm talking about the $47,000 I'd been saving since I was 19. Money I'd scraped together working 2 jobs through college, skipping spring break trips, living on ramen, taking the bus instead of owning a car. Money that was supposed to be our down payment on a house after the wedding. Marcus knew every detail of how hard I'd worked for that money. He'd watched me pick up weekend shifts at Target while finishing my nursing degree. He'd seen me turn down girls' trips and concerts because I was serious about building something stable. So when he said his mom needed it, Janet, who'd always been sweet to my face, I believed him. "How much does she need?" I asked, already pulling up my banking app because that's what you do when someone you love has a family. "Emergency. All of it," he said. "The surgery's not covered. She'll die without it. We can rebuild the savings together after we're married. But right now, I need you to prove you're really part of this family." Prove you're part of this family. Like the past 3 years of cooking Sunday dinners at Janet's house, helping her move apartments, buying Christmas gifts for Marcus's younger siblings. Like none of that counted unless I handed over my entire financial security. I transferred the money that night, all $47,000. Watched my balance drop to 180 tours and felt sick, but told myself this was what love looked like. Sacrifice, partnership, becoming family. Marcus kissed my forehead and said, "This is why I'm marrying you. You're not like other girls. You actually care about what matters." 2 weeks later, I was scrolling Instagram while Marcus was in the shower, and I saw a post from his mom, Janet, the one who was supposed to be recovering from life-saving emergency surgery. She was standing in front of a brand new BMW holding the keys, grinning at the camera with a caption that made my blood turn to ice. "Finally upgraded. My boy said I deserve it. Sometimes you just have to treat yourself." Blessed Heiner new car who this. My boys. Plural. I sat there staring at that photo. At the car that cost at least $50,000. At Janet's healthy, smiling face. At the luxury dealership in the background. And something in my brain just clicked off. There was no surgery. There never had been. They'd used my life savings to buy her a car. And Marcus thought I'd never find out. Do you want to know how discovering that lie turned into me canceling a wedding, exposing a family of scammers, and getting every single dollar back plus interest? Stay with me until the end, and I'll tell you exactly how one Instagram post destroyed a family's perfect con and taught me that the only person I needed to save was myself. The shower was still running. I could hear Marcus, singing off-key, completely relaxed, like he hadn't just orchestrated the biggest betrayal of my life. I screenshot the post, sent it to myself in 3 different ways. Then I kept scrolling through Janet's Instagram, going back weeks. And that's when I saw the pattern. 2 weeks before Marcus asked me for the money, Janet had posted about manifesting my dream car. A week before that, she'd shared a post about BMWs with heart eye emojis. 3 days before the emergency, she'd tagged a luxury dealership in a story. Just looking for now. She'd been planning this, and Marcus had helped her. I went back further, found posts from Marcus's younger brother Tyler, standing next to the same BMW a week after I transferred the money. Caption: "Mom's new whip. She deserves it after everything." Everything? Like what? Raising 2 sons who scammed their brother's fiancé? My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. Then I heard the shower turn off. Marcus came out in a towel, still humming, completely oblivious. "What's for dinner, babe?" I looked up at him. This man I'd been planning to marry in 4 months, the one who'd cried when he proposed, who'd told me I was his forever person. And I made a choice. I smiled. "I was thinking pasta. Can you grab wine from the corner store?" He kissed the top of my head. "You're the best. Be right back." The second the door closed, I moved. I grabbed my laptop, logged into our shared Google Drive where we'd been keeping wedding planning documents, and opened a new folder labeled Financial Records Do Not Delete. Then I started uploading everything. Screenshots of Marcus's texts asking for the money. The Venmo transfer for $47,000 with the memo, "Mom's surgery, love you." Screenshots of Janet's Instagram showing the BMW. Tyler's posts. Everything. I also pulled up the email Marcus had sent me 2 weeks ago with hospital information. Except now that I look closer, there was no hospital name, no doctor, no actual details. Just, "Mom's medical team says she needs the surgery within 72 hours. I'd been so panicked I hadn't even questioned it. I documented everything in a Google Doc with dates, times, amounts. Then I did something else. I called Janet. She answered on the second ring, voice bright and cheerful. "Rachel, honey, how are you? Marcus told me you've been so stressed with work." "I'm okay," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I actually wanted to check on you. How are you feeling after the surgery?" There was a pause, a tiny hesitation. "Oh, recovery's slow, but I'm managing." "What hospital were you at? I wanted to send flowers." Another pause. "Oh, that's so sweet, but they already discharged me. Home recovery now." "That's fast for major surgery. What procedure did you have exactly?" "It's complicated medical stuff. I don't want to bore you with details." I smiled, even though she couldn't see me. "I'm a nurse, Janet. I love medical details." The silence stretched, then flustered. "Rachel, I actually have someone at the door. Can I call you back?" She hung up before I could answer. I added that phone call to my documentation. Time, date, her refusal to name the hospital or procedure. Then Marcus came back with wine, and I pretended everything was normal. We ate pasta, watched TV. He fell asleep on the couch with his head in my lap, and I sat there staring at the ceiling, planning my next move. Because here's the thing about being a nurse. I know how to stay calm in emergencies. I know how to follow protocol. I know how to document everything before taking action. And Marcus had just given me the biggest emergency of my life. The next morning, I called in sick to work, first time in 2 years, and went to see a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Morrison. She specialized in financial fraud and family law. I walked into her office with my laptop, a printed timeline, and a flash drive containing every screenshot, every text, every piece of evidence I'd gathered. "My fiancé and his mother stole $47,000 from me by faking a medical emergency," I said. "And I want to know what my options are." Patricia reviewed everything for 45 minutes in silence. Then she looked up. "This is fraud. Clear, documentable fraud. Did you give the money as a gift or a loan?" He said it was for his mom's surgery, life or death, that we'd rebuild the savings together. So conditional on a medical emergency that didn't exist. She made notes. "And you have evidence the money was used to purchase a vehicle instead." "A BMW, posted on Instagram 2 weeks after I transferred the money." Patricia leaned back in her chair. "Here's what you can do. You can file a police report for fraud and theft by deception. You can sue in civil court for the return of the funds plus damages. And you can request an emergency freeze on any accounts connected to this money. Will I actually get it back? If they still have the car, yes. We can request a court order to seize it or force its sale. If they've already sold it or hidden the money, it gets harder. But with this level of documentation, you have a strong case." I took a breath. "What if I want more than just the money back?" Patricia's eyebrows raised. "Explain." "I want to make sure they can't do this to anyone else. I want it on record. I want consequences." She nodded slowly. "Then we file both criminal and civil. Criminal charges mean potential jail time. Civil suit means you get your money back. Together, they send a message." "Let's do both." Patricia pulled out paperwork. "First thing, do not tell your fiancé or his family that you know. Act normal. Let them think you're still in the dark. Meanwhile, we'll gather more evidence and build the case." "How long?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. "Can you pretend that long?" I thought about Marcus sleeping peacefully on the couch while I documented his betrayal. About Janet posting her new car with my money. About Tyler celebrating like they'd won the lottery. I can pretend, I said. For the next 2 weeks, I was the perfect fiancé. I smiled at wedding dress fittings, confirmed vendors, discussed honeymoon plans, texted Janet about the rehearsal dinner menu. And every single day, I gathered more evidence. I found Marcus's Venmo history, showing he'd received $15,000 from Janet the same week I transferred the money. Payment memo. Thanks for talking to R. Thanks for talking to me, for convincing me to hand over my life savings. He'd been paid to scam me. I found text messages between Marcus and Tyler that Marcus thought he'd deleted, but I recovered them from our shared iCloud account. Tyler. Did she actually give you all of it? Marcus. Yep. 47K, mom's getting her car, you're keeping 10K for college. I'm keeping the rest. Tyler. Bro, she's gonna be pissed when she finds out. Marcus. She won't. Mom's not posting anything. And even if Rachel sees something, I'll just say we borrowed against the car for the surgery. She trusts me. Tyler. What if she wants receipts? Marcus. She won't, she's too nice. That's why this worked. Too nice, that's why this worked. I screenshot those messages with hands that didn't shake anymore. Just cold, steady determination. I also found something else. Marcus had taken out a credit card in my name 6 months ago. Forged my signature on the application using documents from our apartment. Balance, $12,000, all charged at restaurants, bars, and online gambling sites. He'd been stealing from me even before the surgery. Patricia added identity theft to the criminal complaint. On day 13 of my investigation, I did something Marcus didn't expect. I went to visit Janet. Showed up with coffee and pastries, all smiles. I wanted to see how you're really doing, I said. And see the house. Marcus says you're thinking about moving? Janet looked nervous, but let me in. And there, parked in her driveway in perfect condition, was the BMW. Beautiful car, I said casually. When did you get it? Huh? Oh, that few months ago. Finally saved up enough. I smiled. That's amazing. Must have taken forever to save $50,000. She blinked. It wasn't quite that much. Got a deal. Still, big purchase right after major surgery. You're recovering so well. Her face went pale. Rachel? I'm a nurse, Janet. I know what post-surgical recovery looks like. And you look like someone who's been driving a new car, not someone who had emergency surgery 3 weeks ago. She started stammering. I pulled out my phone, showed her the screenshot of her own Instagram post, the one with the BMW and the caption about treating herself. You posted this 2 weeks after Marcus told me you needed $47,000 for life-saving surgery, I said quietly. Want to explain that? Janet's face crumpled. Rachel, please, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You and Marcus planned this. You faked an emergency, you took my money, you bought a car, and you thought I'd never find out. We were going to pay you back. When? After the wedding? After I legally couldn't go after Marcus without it affecting me too? Or were you never planning to pay me back at all? She started crying. He said you had plenty. He said you were rich and wouldn't miss it. I'm a nurse, Janet. I work 50-hour weeks. I saved that money for 7 years by living on nothing. And your son convinced me to give it all away for a lie. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. Please don't tell Marcus you know. He'll be so angry. I pulled free. You're worried about him being angry? I'm worried about getting my money back. And trust me, he's going to find out very soon. I walked out, got in my car, and called Patricia. I have her on recording admitting it was a scam, I said. How fast can we file? I'll have the paperwork ready by tomorrow morning. The police showed up at our apartment 3 days later. Marcus answered the door in sweatpants, coffee in hand, thinking maybe it was a package delivery. Instead, it was 2 officers with a warrant. Marcus Torres, you're under arrest for theft by deception, fraud, and identity theft. His face went white. He looked at me, standing in the kitchen, phone in hand, recording everything. "Rachel, what the fuck?" "You can ask your mom," I said calmly. "She'll explain." They put him in handcuffs while he sputtered about misunderstandings and mistakes. One officer read him his Miranda rights. The other went to his phone and laptop, seizing them as evidence. "This is insane," Marcus shouted as they walked him out. "Rachel, tell them this is a mistake." I followed them to the door, looked him right in the eyes. "The only mistake," I said, "was me thinking you actually loved me." Then I closed the door and locked it. Janet was arrested an hour later. Tyler was questioned as an accessory, but not charged because he'd only received money, not participated in the scam. The BMW was seized by the court and held pending trial. Marcus's bail was set at $25,000, Janet's at $15,000. Neither could make it. They sat in county jail for 2 weeks. And I sat in our apartment, my apartment, since the lease was only in my name, and started canceling a wedding. Canceling a wedding is its own special kind of hell, especially when everyone wants to know why. The venue called first. "Ms. Torres, we have your final payment due next week. Just confirming the guest count? Actually, I need to cancel. The wedding's off." Silence. Then, carefully, "I'm so sorry to hear that. Is everything okay?" "My fiancé is in jail for fraud, so no, not really." More silence. "Oh, well, we'll process the cancellation." Some vendors were sympathetic. Others were cold, reminding me about non-refundable deposits. I lost $3,000 in deposits total, but I didn't care. Marcus had stolen $47,000. Losing $3 felt like nothing. The dress was harder. I'd found it 6 months ago at a boutique in downtown. Spent weeks deciding. Finally said yes to a beautiful lace gown that made me feel like I was floating. I went back to return it, receipt in hand. The owner recognized me. "Rachel, your final fitting is next month, right? Are we still on schedule?" "I need to return the dress. The wedding's canceled." Her face fell. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. What happened?" And I told her. Everything, the fake surgery, the Instagram post, the arrest. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Keep the dress." "What?" "Keep it or sell it or burn it. I don't care. But don't give me back something you bought dreaming of a future with someone who didn't deserve you. That's not yours to return. That's his to have ruined." I cried in that boutique for 20 minutes while she brought me tea and told me about her own broken engagement 30 years ago. "Best thing that ever happened to me," she said, "because the man I eventually married was nothing like the one I almost married. And you'll find that too." I took the dress home, hung it in my closet. Haven't decided what to do with it yet, but she was right. It's not mine to return. The hardest part was telling people. My parents were supportive, if shocked. My dad offered to have a talk with Marcus, which I declined because Marcus was already in jail and my dad was 62 with a bad knee. My best friend Kayla came over with wine and ice cream and said, "I never liked him anyway. You said he was perfect for me." I lied. "He always ordered for you at restaurants without asking what you wanted. That's a red flag." I laughed for the first time in weeks. But Marcus's family? That was a different story. His aunt called me screaming. "You put my nephew in jail over a misunderstanding about money? What kind of person does that?" "The kind who got scammed out of $47,000, I said calmly. "Family helps family. You should have just given the money and not made it weird. There was no surgery. Your sister bought a car with my savings and lied about dying." She sputtered. Well, Janet wouldn't have needed to ask if you weren't so stingy with your money in the first place." I hung up. She called back 4 times. I blocked her. Marcus's father showed up at my apartment building, trying to get buzzed in. The doorman called me. "There's a Mr. Torres here saying he needs to talk to you about his son. Tell him I'm not home, and if he comes back, call the police." "Will do, ma'am." I watched from my window as Marcus's dad stood on the sidewalk for 10 minutes, looking up at my building like I'd appear if he waited long enough. Then he left. The restraining order I filed the next day made sure he couldn't come back. The trial took 4 months to arrive. During that time, I moved apartments. Too many memories in the old place. Too many mornings waking up and forgetting for 5 seconds that Marcus was gone, that the wedding was canceled, that my entire future had imploded. I found a small one-bedroom across town. Cheaper rent. Closer to the hospital where I worked. No shared spaces with ghosts of the life I'd almost had. I also started therapy. My therapist, Dr. Patel, helped me see patterns I'd missed. "Marcus asked you for money before, didn't he?" she said during one session. I thought about it. Small stuff. $200 here for car repairs, $500 there for helping his mom with rent. I never thought about it as a pattern. And how did he ask? He'd say his family needed help, that if I loved him, I'd understand. So he conditioned you to equate love with financial support. I stared at her. Yeah, he did. And when you gave the $47,000, you didn't hesitate because by then, saying yes to money requests was automatic. She was right. Marcus had been training me for 3 years to hand over money without question. The surgery wasn't a sudden con. It was the culmination of years of smaller cons that had normalized the behavior. I cried in that session. Not sad crying, angry crying. "I'm not stupid," I said. "I'm a nurse. I'm educated. How did I not see this?" "Because people we love aren't supposed to scam us," Dr. Patel said gently. "Your trust wasn't stupidity. It was love. He exploited that. That's on him, not you." Those words helped more than anything else. The trial started on a cold Tuesday in March. I sat in the gallery wearing my nurse scrubs. I'd come straight from a shift because I wasn't giving this more time than necessary. Marcus walked in wearing a cheap suit, looking smaller than I remembered. Janet sat behind him, dabbing her eyes with tissues. The prosecutor was a no-nonsense woman named Alice Chin, who'd reviewed my evidence and called it one of the clearest fraud cases I've seen in 10 years. She laid it out, methodically. The fake surgery story, the Instagram post showing the car, the text messages between Marcus and Tyler planning how to spend my money, the Venmo payment to Marcus from Janet, thanking him for talking to R, the credit card fraud, all of it backed by screenshots, bank records, timestamps. Marcus's lawyer tried to claim it was a misunderstanding. My client genuinely believed his mother needed surgery. The money was given in good faith. That his mother decided to purchase a vehicle with some of those funds doesn't constitute fraud. Alice stood up. "Your Honor, the defendant's own text messages show he knew there was no surgery. Quote, 'She won't find out. She's too nice. That's why this worked.' That's not a misunderstanding. That's premeditation." She pulled up the text on the courtroom screen. Marcus's words, big and undeniable. The courtroom went silent. Marcus's lawyer had no response. When it was my turn to testify, I walked to the stand feeling surprisingly calm. Alice asked me to describe the day Marcus asked for the money. I did, every detail. How he'd cried, how he'd said his mom would die, how he'd told me this was my chance to prove I was family. "And you believed him?" Alice asked. "Yes, because I loved him. And because people you love aren't supposed to lie about their mother dying." "When did you discover the truth?" 2 weeks later when I saw his mother's Instagram post showing off a new BMW purchased with my money. Alice showed the Instagram screenshot to the jury. Janet's smiling face, the car, the caption about treating herself. How did that make you feel? Devastated, betrayed, and stupid for trusting someone who saw me as a bank account instead of a person. Marcus's lawyer tried to make me look vindictive during cross-examination. "Isn't it true you filed these charges out of anger over your relationship ending?" "No, I filed charges because $47,000 was stolen from me through fraud." "You willingly gave that money." "Under false pretenses. He told me his mother was dying. She wasn't. That's called fraud. Have you considered that mistakes were made, but there was no criminal intent? His text messages literally say, "This worked because she's too nice." That's intent. The lawyer had no comeback. Janet testified next, crying through the whole thing. "I didn't know Marcus was lying to Rachel," she sobbed. "I thought she knew the money was for a car. I thought she offered." Alice pulled up Janet's own Instagram post. "You posted, 'My boys said I deserve it 2 weeks after receiving the money.' That's plural. Boys, including Marcus. So you knew he was involved." Janet's face crumpled. I I meant it differently." You also posted, "Manifesting my dream car," 2 weeks before the money was transferred. You were planning this purchase before any alleged surgery was mentioned. It was just a post. And when Rachel's lawyer contacted you, you admitted on a recorded call that there was no surgery, correct? Janet looked at her lawyer, panicked. He shook his head slightly, but it was too late. Yes. The prosecutor rested her case. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Williams was a woman in her 60s who looked at Marcus with open disgust. "Mr. Torres, you orchestrated a cruel, calculated fraud against someone who loved you. You faked your mother's medical emergency. You stole $47,000 of your fiancé's life savings. You opened credit cards in her name without her knowledge, racking up an additional $12,000 in debt. You showed no remorse until you were caught." Marcus started to speak. The judge held up her hand. "I've read your victim impact statement, Ms. Torres. I've seen the years of savings that went into that money. I've seen the text messages where you called her too nice, like that was a weakness to exploit. People like you are why. People stop trusting. Why they stop helping. Why they build walls instead of relationships." She looked at her papers. 4 years in state prison, full restitution of $59,000, the $47,000 stolen plus the $12,000 in fraudulent credit card debt. You're banned from contact with Rachel Torres, and you'll register as a financial offender. Marcus's face went white. 4 years? Your Honor, please. I made a mistake. You made dozens of calculated decisions over several weeks. That's not a mistake. That's a crime spree. Janet's sentencing was shorter. "Ms. Torres, you participated knowingly in defrauding your son's fiancé. You accepted money obtained through fraud. You lied about a serious medical condition to facilitate theft. 2 years in state prison. Joint restitution with your son. No contact with the victim." Janet sobbed. "I can't go to prison. I have health problems." "You were healthy enough to drive your new BMW. You'll survive." I sat in the gallery watching. Then both get led away in handcuffs. Marcus looked back at me once, not apologetic, just angry, like I'd done something wrong by refusing to be stolen from. I looked away. The money came back slowly. The BMW was sold at auction for $38,000. Marcus's savings account had $4,800. Janet's account had $2,800. Together, they had to pay back $59,000 total, plus legal fees. The rest would come from wage garnishment, 25% of anything either of them earned in prison and after release. I'd probably never see all of it, but I saw enough to breathe again. I paid off the fraudulent credit card immediately, put the rest back into savings, started rebuilding. The credit card companies cleared the debt from my name once I showed them the court judgment. My credit score slowly climbed back up. 6 months after the trial, I had $31,000 in my savings account. Not the $47,000 I'd started with, but more than the $180 I'd been left with after the scam. I could live with that. What I couldn't live with was the fear. The fear that I'd never trust anyone again. That I'd spend my life alone because the person I'd chosen to marry had turned out to be a liar and a thief. Dr. Patel worked with me on that. "Not everyone is Marcus," she reminded me, "but it's okay to take your time, to vet people more carefully, to protect yourself." How do I know when someone's safe? You don't. Not completely. But you look for patterns. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they pressure you for money? Do their actions match their words? Do they make you feel guilty for having standards? I nodded. Taking notes like this was a nursing lecture. And Rachel, the fact that you're asking these questions means you're healing. You're not shutting down. You're learning. I didn't plan to date again, but 10 months after the trial, I met someone at the hospital. His name was David. He was a physical therapist in the orthopedic wing. We'd crossed paths a few times coordinating patient care. He asked me to coffee one afternoon after a long shift. I almost said no. Then I thought about what Dr. Patel had said about not shutting down. Sure, I said, but I'm paying for my own coffee. He looked surprised but smiled. Okay, fair enough. We went to the Starbucks across from the hospital, talked about work, about patients, about the ridiculous hospital parking situation. He didn't ask about my relationship status, didn't push for my number, just talked to me like a person. At the end, he said, "This was nice. Want to do it again sometime?" Maybe. Can I think about it? Of course. I thought about it for 3 days, then texted him, "Coffee sounds good. Same place?" We went out again, and again, slow, casual, no pressure. On our 5th coffee date, he asked, "Are we dating? Or are we just two people who really like hospital coffee?" I laughed. "I don't know. I'm not great at this anymore." "Anymore?" I told him. "Not everything, but the highlights. Fiancé, fraud, trial, prison." David listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "That's horrible. I'm sorry that happened to you." "You're not going to ask if I'm over it or if I have trust issues?" "Do you?" "Probably. Then we'll go slow. And I'll make sure you know I'm not him. Not by telling you, by showing you." That's when I knew David was different. He showed me by never asking about my money, by splitting bills evenly, by respecting when I said I needed space, by introducing me to his family without pressuring me to get serious, by being consistent. After 6 months of dating, he asked if I wanted to move in together. I panicked. "I can't, not yet. I'm not ready for shared finances or joint anything." "Okay, what would make you ready?" "Time, and maybe a prenup if we ever get to that point." He didn't flinch. "If we get married, we'll get a prenup. I want you to feel safe." "That's more important than romance," I cried. "You're serious?" "Completely. Rachel, I'm not trying to take anything from you. I'm trying to build something with you. Those are different things." We didn't move in together for another year. But when we did, we had separate bank accounts, split rent evenly, and kept detailed records of who paid for what. It wasn't romantic in the traditional sense, but it was safe. And after Marcus, safe felt like love. It's been 3 years since Marcus sat me down and asked me to empty my savings account. I'm 29 now, still a nurse, still rebuilding my savings, currently at $64,000 more than I had before the scam. Marcus got out of prison last year, after serving 3 years with good behavior. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he moved out of state, changed his name on social media, and started over somewhere new. I don't think about him much anymore. Janet served her full 2 years, got out 6 months ago. I heard she's living with Tyler now, working part-time at a grocery store, still, making minimum payments on the restitution. I don't think about her either. What I think about is this. I almost married someone who saw me as a resource instead of a person, who trained me over years to hand over money without question, who planned with his mother to fake her death and steal my future. And I could have let that destroy me. I could have decided that trusting people was stupid, that love was a scam, that I should build walls and never let anyone close again. Instead, I learned to trust differently. I learned that love doesn't ask you to prove it with money, that real emergencies come with hospital names and doctor calls, not vague texts and Instagram posts, that the people who truly care about you won't make you feel guilty for having boundaries. I learned that I'm allowed to verify, to ask questions, to say no, to protect myself without apology. And I learned that the only person I needed to save was me. David and I got engaged last month. Small proposal, nothing dramatic, just us on the couch after a long shift. "I want to spend my life with you," he said, "and I want you to feel safe doing the same. So before I officially ask, I want you to know, separate accounts, prenup, whatever you need. I'm here because I love you, not because I need anything from you." I cried, said yes, and meant it. We're getting married next spring. Small ceremony, close friends only, no one from Marcus's family invited. And this time, I'm walking into marriage with my eyes open, my savings intact, and the knowledge that I don't owe anyone access to my security just because they claim to love me. If this story resonated with you, here's what I want you to know. If someone you love pressures you to give them money for an emergency, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to verify. It's okay to say, "Let me help by calling the hospital directly," or "Let me pay the bill myself instead of transferring cash." If they get angry at your caution, that's a red flag. If they make you feel guilty for not trusting them blindly, that's a bigger red flag. And if they tell you that proving your love means emptying your bank account, that's not love. That's manipulation. Real love doesn't cost your entire savings. Real love doesn't fake emergencies. Real love doesn't exploit your kindness and call it devotion. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it. And now I'm building a life with someone who understands that love and theft are not the same thing. Subscribe for more stories, because sometimes the person asking you to prove your love is actually just proving they never loved you at all. My name is Rachel Torres. I'm 29 years old, and I'm the woman who turned a fake emergency into a real lesson about what love actually costs. Turns out it doesn't cost $47,000. It costs honesty, respect, and the understanding that your partner's security matters as much as your own. Marcus never learned that, but I did, and that made all the you-ah-he difference.